וכי נפשי es Hashem.
Today is page 52. It's not Shabbat yet, but 52 is the daf that we study on Shabbat, Parshat VaYetze, which, by coincidence or not, it's also your rabbi's birthday.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. 10 of Kislev.
Thank
you. And it's also a special day for a Chabad Hasidim, because the earlier time, the second Rebbe was released from the captivity, from the jail in ancient Russia. So anyway, 10 of Kislev, it's a happy day, and it's also the daf of 52. This daf dealing with Shabbat, using or giving work or loading or unloading from animals on Shabbat. As you know, we are commanded in the Torah to make sure not only ourselves but also our animals need to rest on Shabbat. So we're going to discuss today a different aspect of using animals or serving animals or loading and unloading on animals on Shabbat. 4 lines from the top of the page 52. Tana devei Menashia. עז שחקק לה בין קרניה יוצאה באפסר בשבת. Goat. Again, remember, it's a general term. We are speaking here at the time of the Talmud. There is a lot of application to our times. But here we speak about goat, which one carved out a hole between its horn. It's a bit inserted through the hole, and they said may go out on Shabbat. The idea is the animal, as we discussed yesterday, has to have an afsar and something that hold them. Now, if you hold it the same as other animals, you cannot move it on Shabbat. Why? Because when you pull it, she moves her head from one side to another. And because her head is small, she can pull out and get out of that hold, right?
Nicole, it sounds like you're talking about my dog, because
no,
he's the same way. His head is much smaller than his neck, so it's very easy for the collar to slip right out. So I understand.
So what is the fear? The fear is that the person is going to carry the goat 4 cubits in a public domain, in Reshut Harabim, and that's an issue of biblical prohibition. So now is a question. Ba'e Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef asked, Tachavla bizkana mau. As you know, the goat has a little beard, right?
Yes.
So, goti, right? So, what happened is, he put something like a little bit, sometime with a halter, that holder on Shabbat. So, can you let her go out in this way on Shabbat? What's the safek? What's the dilemma? Do we said, Kevan de'i menatach la ka'iv la? When the goat tried to get out, it's carry a pain in her or his beard. Lo atya lenatucha, so she's not going to pull it out because it's carry pain for the goats on the goat's beard, and therefore you allow the goat to go out with that on Shabbat. Or dilma, or you may say, Zimnin derafei venafil. Sometimes it's loose and it's fall out. Ve'atela tuyei 400 birshut harabi. So a person can go ahead and carry that goat 4 cubits in a public domain. So they come conclusion and they said, Teiko. That stand unresolved. Teiko, as you know, it's abbreviation. Like at the end of the day, Tishbi, Yetaretz, Kushiyot, V'Ibayot. The Mitzvah Hashem, the time come that we have all the answers. Now we go back to the subject of Shmira Yetera, of extra guarding. So the question is, does Shmira Yetera, it's considering a masoi, is considering a loading or not? Nanatam, we learn in regard to a cow on Shabbat. It's what we are going to learn in page 54. Velo birtsu'a sheben karnea. And neither may cow go out with a strap between its horns. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, plig Rav Shmuel. This is a machloket, a dispute between Rav Shmuel. Chad amar ben lenoi ben leshamer asur. One said that whether it was placed for beauty or an ornament, or he made it for secure the cow, it's prohibited for the cow to go out with the strap between its horns. So because basically even that cow makes, we put something on the cow for beauty, it's still considering a loading, something, that carrying something. Now another way, v'chad amar, and the other one said, lenoi asur ulshamer mutar. For beauty is prohibited, but for secure it's okay, you can do it. That's what Rashi said. So basically the source of this machloket, dispute between Rav and Shmuel, is if extra guardians, extra security is considering masoi, is considering loading or not. Amar Rav Yosef, tistayem de Shmuel de amar lenoi asur leshamer mutar. He said, he conclude that Shmuel is the one who said that if the strap was placed for beauty, it's prohibited, but for secure the cow, it's permitted. So you understand that extra shmira, that extra secure, it's not considering as loading something. The Amar Avuna bar Chia Amar Shmuel alacha kechananya. So which means that Hananya hold that Shmira Yetera, that a device that provides excessive security, it's not considering a burden, and therefore you allow the animals to go out on Shabbat with the strap that provide extra excessive security. Amar le Abaye adraba. Abaye said no, it's the opposite. Tistayem de Shmuelu de Amar ben lenoi ben leshamer. You have to say that you conclude that Shmuel is the one who said that whether it was placed for beauty or as the ornament or it was placed to secure the cow, it's prohibited. The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, the Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, מחליפין לפני רבי של זו בזו. So he said that they can switch, they can exchange the detail of the Mishnah before Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. What is halacha regard with animals going out into public domain, which which is permitted for that animal. So he said shel zo bazo, which means gamal bechatam and anaka be'afsar. Mau, what's the din? So he said, can you allow them to go out on Shabbat? Amar lefanav Rabbi Ishmael beRabbi Yossi, kach amar Abba. That's what my father said, which is Rabbi Yossi. Arba be'emot yotzot be'afsar. We learned it earlier. In general, just a side note, the Ritva hold the whole issue of cow and beauty, it's unapplicable. He says people not beautify their cows, and it's therefore he hold that it's not something that derech para bekach, that something that people does. Anyway.
Only in India.
Yeah. What?
Only in India they decorate their cows.
Yeah. All right. So he said, Arba be'emot, 4 animals may go out with a bee. We said it a few pages earlier. Hasus, hapered, ve'agamal, ve'achamor, a horse, a mule, a camel, and a donkey. Lav lemi'ute gamal bachatam. Does this list not come to exclude a camel going out with nose ring? Because a nose ring is provide excessive security beyond that required for a camel. So what you see here, that Shmuel hold that a animal may go out on Shabbat with device that provide excessive security. So he said, Samei ha mikamei ha. So basically remove this statement of Shmuel due to that first one. So because it's a controversy, you can take it out. So there are a lot of Rishonim that they have a different way to take this Gemara, because one brighter contradict the others. But basically the final word is it's like dichui be'alma, it's just general rejection. It's like because you cannot prove neither way. So Abaye asked, Umay chazet dim samet ha mikameha, sameha mikameha. So what did you see that led you to delete this last statement for the first one, delete the first statement due to the latter one? The Ashkechan, because we said clearly, Shmuel Udamar, Shmuel is the one who said, he said, Lenoi Asur, for beauty is forbidden, Leshamer Mutar, but if you need it for secure the cow, it's okay, it's permitted. The Itmar, Rav Chia bar Rashi Amarav, Ben Lenoi Ben Leshamer Asui. So Rav Chia bar Rashi said, Nemofrav, whether the strap was placed for beauty, or whether the place to secure the cow is prohibited. Why? Because excessive security is considering a burden. Rav Chia bar Ravina Amar Shmuel, Lenoi Asur, he said for beauty is prohibited, Leshamer, but secure the cow, mutar, it's permitted. Why? Because excessive security, it's not considering a burden. So because we see it clearly that Shmuel is the one with the opinion that the cow can go out with that retzua, so we see clearly that Shmuel is the one who hold that the cow can go out that way, and excessive security is not considering a burden, and therefore we don't reject the previous statements. Meitivei. Now we ask about a red heifer, red cow. Kshara be'alea b'mosera kshera. You know that red heifer has a certain restrictions in order to use it. So it said, if the owner tied the red heifer with its rein, that attached to the bit, and it remains fit for use in purification ritual. So even though usually red heifer became pasul, invalid, by carry a load, right? The Torah said it clearly. But
so if you work a red heifer at all, it becomes invalid.
Right, okay. Right. But if the chidush here, if you do it in order to provide a security for the red heifer, it's not considered a burden, and it's not became a invalid, a pasul by carrying. Ve'isal kadatach, if you say that excessive carrying that for the cow, masoyu, is considering burden. So how come? Why does the red heifer remain fit for use? Asher lo ala le'ahol. The Torah says clearly, unequivocally in Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, chapter 19, that the condition of the red cow is that in which there is no blemish, and upon which never came a yoke. So therefore, Amar Rachmana, the Torah said it clearly. So how you say it such a way? Tosfot and the Ritva hold it's basically the other way around. But we're just running out of time. We're short today, so let's go further. Amar Abaye, B'molicha me'ir le'ir. Abaye said, here we're holding a situation that he hold it from one city to the other. So in other words, when you're taking an animal from its own habitat, it requires additional security. So because that the heifer tried to reign is a conventional rather than excessive security. So therefore, a bit is not considering a burden. So it's not considering excessive burden. Another second explanation, Rava Amar Shani Para the Damea Yekarim. Para, the red heifer, it's different because it's very expensive. So therefore, from the moment that it's born, you have to have an extra security because it have a highest value. The GEMARA said in Kiddushin, page 31, at length, the value of a red heifer. Third explanation, Ravina Amar Bemoredet. Ravina said that here we talk about red heifer, that it's rebellious, right? And headstrong. So what do? You need to have an extra security. So it's not considering an extra. Now the Pnei Yoshua and Rabbi Akiva Iger hold that the whole three explanations are true. It's not really a big difference between them. It's a combination of the whole three together. We learn in the Mishnah, Hasus Beshir, which means that when you're taking the horse, you have to take it with a chain around the neck. Ma yotzin uman mainim shachim. What exactly they go out and pull? Amar Ravuna said, O yotzin kruchin, or nimshachim. Those type of animals allowed to go out regardless if the chain it's around the neck, that the chain and the retzuot, what's the hold, it's became just for beauty and not to hold them, or because they around the neck, so a person can pull them in a regular retzua. And they said, Ushmuel Amar, by the way, Rashi and Tosfot explain it, but again, we're running quick now. Ushmuel Amar yotzin nimshachin ve'en yotzin kruchin. And Shmuel said these animals may go out pulled by the chain, however they may not go out with the chain wrapped around the necks as an ornament. So therefore, it's considering a burden, and you cannot go out with that in Shabbat. That's what Rashi said. Tosfot said that only if it's he can use it easily then it's different. Otherwise, you hold the same. Anyway, במתנית התנא, we learn in a ברייתא, יוצאים קרובים להימשך. They may go out with the chain loosely wrapped around the necks. So if they need to rise, the animal will be able to pull by the chain.
So let me ask a question here, because I understand we're talking about how the chain should go around the neck and everything. So does this imply then that it's not a problem holding the leash when you're pulling the animal, because is that not considered carrying then?
Oh, so now you're talking the practical halacha on Shabbat.
Okay, I mean, if we're going to address in practical halacha, that's fine.
Just a general term.
Sorry, I don't want to get ahead.
No. In general term, there is a very heavy discussion over that.
Okay.
If you do something, just who's leading whom, in general. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay. אמר רב יוסף, חזינה להו לעיגלי דבי רב הונא, יוצאים באפרסיהן כרוכים בשבת. Which means, I saw in those calf in the house of Rav Huna, which was a great Talmudic scholar, that go out in a public domain on Shabbat with the beads, with the reins, wrap around the necks. כי עתה רב דימי, אמר רבי חנינא, מולאות של בית רבי יוצאות באפרסיהן בשבת. He said the mules of the house of Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi go out in a public domain with the beads on Shabbat. So here we have a question, dilemma. כרוכין או נמשכין. So they go out, beat with the rein, wrap, or that it's pulled by the rein, tashma. כי עתה רב שמואל בר יהודה אמר רבי חנינא, מולאות מיול של בית רבי יוצאות באפרסיהן קורות בשבת. So you see, אמרו הקמא דרב אסי, so the sages said from רב אסי, דרב שמואל בר יהודה לא צריכה, מדרב דימי נפקא, he learned it from רב דימי. So, באיסר גדתך דרב דימי נמשכים כמר, if you tell me that רב דימי hold that they נמשכים, that it derive, מדרב יהודה אמר שמואל נפקא. That he derived from the statement of Yehuda Shmuel, who said, Amar Yehuda Shmuel machlifim hayu lifnei Rebbe. He said that it was they changed before Rebbe. Shel zo bazo mau. It's what is the halacha regard to animals going out in a public domain, which is permitted for the animals. Omar le Rabbi Yishmael beRabbi Yossi kach amar Rabba. As we said earlier, arba bemot yotzot be'afsar. Therefore, go out on a beat. You remember that? הסוס, הפרד, הגמל והחמור, the horse, the mule, the camel and the donkey. So, meaning that according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, a mule go out to Shabbat pulled by a beat. אמר רב אסי, צריך לו. He said it's necessary. Why? דאמי דרב יהודה נפקא הווה מינה אמר לפניו ולא קיבלה מיני, כמשמע דרב דימי. So maybe he said and didn't accept it. Now we learn from the Rav Dimi that the teachers of Rabbi Hanassi accepted what Rabbi Shmuel said, that mule can go out. וידרב דימי הווה מינה הנמיל נמשכים אבל כרוכין. לא, it's apply only the mule is a pulling, but not when it's a wrap around the animal's neck. כמשמע דרב שמואל בר יהודה, that he hold that the mule of the house, the Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi went out Shabbat and ran up around the necks. Now we said umazin, they put the mechatat, they sprinkle the water, the immerser of the water of purification, v'tovlan bimkoman, and they place the other animals. So it's to say that the chains are fit to contact a tuma, ritual impurity. V'atnan, we learn in the Mishnah, tabat adam, tme'ah, which means the ring worn by a person, so is ritually impure. However, the tabat be'ema, and the ring of the animal, or a ring of vekelim, or ring of utensils, ush'ar kol hatabaot, such as all the other rings worn by people, which means we just turn the page to 52b. Torot, which means that it's pure, it cannot accept the tumah, because it serves the person its own body. So you see here, Rashi said that this type of utensils, that it's just only if it's detached from the utensils. But if it's attached, it's considering what the GEMARA in Chulin said in Kuf Yud Chet, it's called yad lakli. It's like a hand, like a ear, something connected to the utensils. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha, Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha said, Beva'in minoi adam lenoi behema. Here, the Mishnah referring to ornaments would transform from the original designation for a person's adornment to an ornament designed for an animal's adornment. Right? They had once belonged to a person who later affixed them in order to attach a strap to an animal. So their original tumah, ritual impurity, does not cease when they are attached to the animal. V'Rav Yosef Amar, and Rav Yosef said, animal's ring can become ritually impure. Why? Ho'il ve'adam moshech bahen et ha'behema. Since a person pulls his animals with them, so as a result they are considered utensils used by people. So therefore, we hold, that's by the way also Rabbeinu Hananel hold, so sometimes because it's considering tashmish adam, that's something that people use. So Rav Yosef bring a raya. He said, Milotanya, did we learn makel shel bema shel matechet mekabel tuma, matam oil v'adam rodeh b'hem, achanam oil v'adam moshech b'hem. He said that the metal animal prod became ritually impure. What's the reason? Since a person subjugates his animal with it, right? He's using it, for subjugated the animals. That's what people does. So here the same thing with the chain. Since a person pulls his animal with them, they are regarded as utensils for use by a person. And the Mishnah concluded and said, "Vetovlan bimkoman." So the Mishnah said, if the animal's chain became ritually impure, one may immerse them while they are in their place on the animals, and they don't need first to be removed. So they said, the Gemara asked, "Ve'ika chatzitza," but they said that isn't this an obstruction that rendered the immersion invalid? Because it's so strong, hold it in that hold, that the water cannot penetrate when he purified. Amar Rabbi Ami besheritchan. He said when he struck the rings of the chain with a hammer. So when he widening them and he creating sufficient space to allow the water to surround the chain with all the sides. So that's basically the Rashi said. For sure the others, Maharam for example said that he did it on purpose, and he did it in such a level that it's no other way around, that it's really a very big space for that. So now we said two different shitot in regards to shear, what they can accept ritual impurity. So even that all these animals, different tachshitim, different beautification around the animals, it cannot accept impurity. So now, Aleima Rabbi Ami ki Rav Yosef svir alei. What Rabbi Ami said, he said that he struck the ring with the chain with a hammer. So he said maybe he hold the same as Rav Yosef. דאיקרא בי יצחק נפחא דאמר בבאים מינו ידם לנוד בהמה כיוון דריתחן עבד בו מעשהו פרחה לטומאה מנהיו. Because if you tell me that you hold the same as Rabbi Yitzchak ben Nafcha, who said that the Mishnah referring to that the ornaments transform from the original designation for a person to an animal adornment, so since he struck the chain, so he performed an action which alerted its identity, and therefore the impurities ceased without immersion. So basically, just give you the abbreviation, there is a lot of discussion among the Meforshim. We don't have the time. If this shinui, this change, mafkia mitorat kli, basically change the whole idea of holding it as a utensils, because the minute you tell me that is a tameh, that is a ritual impure, then it's a issue that the process has to take place properly. But again, it's a long discussion. The one who deal a lot with that is Rabbi Kiva Iger, etc. Savarla. So we said etnan kol hakelim yordim lidei tum'atan b'machshava. But all the utensils, all the vessels descend into their state of ritual impurity by means of thoughts, which means that even a person unfinished, the vessel cannot become tameh, impure, if the craftsman decided not to complete it. So it's already considering as a complete one. And therefore, he says, they cannot ascend from their status of ritual impurity by means of a change in result of actions. So in other words, something that is tameh, once it undergo a physical change, is no longer tameh. So hammering at the ring is an action that affects physical change. And as a result, the change should be ritually impure without immersion. Savarla כרבי יהודה דאמר מעשה לתקן לאו מעשהו. You hold the same as Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Nafcha, that they said that an action performed by enhance a utensil is not an action capable of riding that utensil to the impurity. דתניא, רבי יהודה אומר, רבי יהודה אמר, או רבי יהודה אומר, לא אמרו, שינוי מעשה לתקן, אלא לקלקל. That they, when you make an effect, a physical change, it can do to enhance the utensil, but not not to denigrate, lekalkel, meaning to reduce. So he said to ruin the utensil. So so if it's a ruin the utensil, then it's a different status. So now we talk back to the whole idea of chatzitza, b'matnit atami, in regards to immerse the shear. They said b'mechulalin tanei b'mechulalin. So he said that the taught in a Braita that if the Mishna referring the case where the ring attached to the chain are well spaced, so that the water completely surrounds the ring of the chain and is no obstruction. שאל תלמיד אחד מגללון את רבי אליעזר, שמעתי שחולקין בין טבעת לטבעת. I heard that student said that distinguish between one type of ring and another type of ring. אמר לו שמא לא שמעת עניין שבת, לעניין טומאה, דה ודה חדאי. Most probably you heard this matter in regard to Shabbat, but the ring of adornment may be moved on Shabbat, another ring may not. But in regard to Tumah, to ritual impurity, they are both the same. ולעניין Tumah דה ודה אחתי, the Gemara asks, is that true that they're all the same? ואתנן טבעת, אדם טמאה וטבעת במה וכלים מושר כל הטבעות טהורות. A ring for a person is impure, but that animal and utensil it's pure. כי כאמר לי איהו, נמי דאדם כאמר לי. What Rabbi Eliezer is saying, that statement of the disciple was saying that to him, that when it's regard to a tumah, to ritual impurity, there is no distinction between different type of ring worn by a person. More I ask, would the Adam David Achadi, is a person the same? והתניא, טבעת שהתקינה לחרוגו במותניו ולקשר בה בין כתפיו טהורה. If a person carry a ring around his wrist, so it's pure. ולא אמרו טמאה אלא של אצבע בלבד. So they only say that it's טמאה, it's ritual impure, it's a regard to a ring worn on a person's finger. So there is a fact in distinction between different rings worn by a person. So he said, Ki ka'amar le, answer, Nami the etzba ka'amar le. So what we're saying here too, we talk about the person's finger. So they ask, the etzba David achadi? So he tell me the finger is one, this one and that one is the same. Vatnan, we learn in the Mishnah, Tabar shel materet v'chotamar shel almog tmea, a ring made out of metal and its seals made of coral is ritually impure. So the ring metal is determined by the factor that the metal utensil can become ritually impure. So he said, Ki ka'amar lehu iyu nami kula shel materet ka'amar lei. When Rabbi Eliezer is saying that statement, he was too saying to him to speak about entirely made of metal. V'od these students ask another question. Shamati shecholkim ben machat lemachat. They have a differentiation between one needle to another. So he said, Amar le Rabbi Eliezer respond to him, Shema lo shamata ela le'inyan Shabbat. De'inyan tumah David achadi. So it's only in regard to Shabbat, but in regard to ritual impurity, they are the same, which means there's no distinction between them. So again, you have here Rashi, you have here Tosfot, you have a lot of to discuss, but again, we don't have a time. U'inyan tumah David achadi. So you tell me in regards to ritual impurity is the same. V'atnan machat shenital chora u'moktzat Torah. We learned that is a needle that was the point was removed, is tahor, is ritually pure, and is no longer fit for use. So he said, Ki ka'amar lei bishleima. When Rabbi Eliezer was saying this statement to his students, he referring to a whole needle. So there is no distinction between different type of whole needles with regard to halacha of tahara and tumah. Bishlama David achadi, and regard to whole needles is both the same. Vatnan machat shel tachaluda, needle that became rusty, im me'akev tatfirat Torah, if it's delay, they inhabits the sewing, so needle is pure. V'ilav, but if it's not, so it not inhibit the sewing, so it's ritually impure. They said the school of Rabbi Yanai, that's all if when the mark of rusty needle is conspicuous in the stitching. So they said, Rabbi Eliezer said to him that when he said to his students, the Gemara answer, when Rabbi Eliezer said it to his student, he meant to say, he's saying to him that there is no distinction between different type of needles that were smooth and feel. So he was referring to a rusty needles. So the Gemara asks, Ubeshifa daveda achati? With regard to smooth, the needles, they are this one and that one the same. V'atanya, we learn in the Braita, machat, a needle, ben nekuva, ben ena nekuva, whether it has an eye or whether does not have an eye, mutar letaltela b'Shabbat, may be moved on Shabbat. V'la amrina nekuva, and we only say that the needle with an eye is different with regard to the halachot of nekuva, of ritual of the nekuva, the whole ela l'inyan tumah bilvad, only in regard to ritual impurity. So what we said, so you said in here in the Braita that all different types of needles, even the full needle, that it's clear and meshuyaf, right? It's very clear. It's not the same as something that has a hole. So again, it's a lot of meforshing over that, but we don't have the time. So they said, the Gemara responded, they said, "Hatargema Abaye aliba derava begalmei." So Abaye said that according to Rava, he speak about unfinished needles. So if the needle is unfinished, it's performed to create an eye that cannot become a tameh because it's not yet utensil. So it's the issue here of Gemar Melacha. As long as you don't have the Gemar Melacha, so Rashi bring the old posuk on the Tumat Kelim. The Torah said Kli Maaseh in Bamidbar Lamed Aleph. So it's apply something that you designate for that Maaseh, for that Shimush, for that purpose. Mishna. Now we go to a specific of certain utensils that you can allow the animals to go to a public domain. So they said chamor, a donkey, yotze b'marda'at. Marda'at is like a blanket, a saddle cloth that protect the donkey from the cold. And they put it for those like Elliot and like myself who are riding horses from time to time in Edgewater. So so one of the things you do around the saddle is to avoid hurting the horse.
Yeah, or get saddle sores if they
saddle sores, right? So you put it. I'm speaking about horse, but the Mishnah speak about donkey.
Same thing.
Right. So sometimes they do it in order to warm him up. Because the Gemara said, and the Vilna Gaon said also, and the Orach Chaim in Shin said that animals like a donkey, he feels cold even in a summertime. So he said, "Bizman shehi kshura bo." So the Gemara explained what this tnai, but basically as long as it's tight to the animal. Zcharim, if it's a male ram, Yotz'in levuvim. They go out levuvim. The Gemara later in Nun Gimel explain what is levuvim. Rechelot. They said rechelot us, right? Is that correct? Ius. Ius. Thank you.
Yep.
Yotz'ot shchuzot kvulot uchvunot. Again, the Gemara explained it, but they basically wrap up in a special cloth to observe their tzemer, their some people use it for a forecoats, etc. What's to cover those animals?
To preserve their warmth.
Preserve, yes.
Yep.
Ha'izim, not just warm, but also to observe, to guard the value of their how do you call that? It's not a hair, but whatever around the body that people shave and use it. Right? Fur,
yeah.
Yes, thank you. Ha'izim yotzot tzrorot. The she-goats may go out with their udders bound. That's what Rashi said, Dibo Matchil Chutz. So tzrorot is something that between their breasts. So they basically hold the milk in order to avoid the milk coming out of their breast down, and basically it's considering a part of their dress and not a burden on them. Rabbi Yosei oser bechulan chutz min harechelim hakvunot. Rabbi Yossi forbids all of them, all the animals going out with all these items, except for the ewes that are kvunot. Because he said that all of that is considering a masoi, a burden. That's what Rashi said. He said Rechelim HaKvunot, the Gemara later explained, but here it's basically Tosfot Dibur Matchil in 54 Halacha. He explained that the fear is that that cover will left the animal, and then he's going to carry it 4 amot in a public domain. That's the issue. The Tosfot said it in Nun Dalet. And he said, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and by the way, the Rabbi Neuvert in the Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata, chapter 27, explained the whole issue of you holding animals in that way, if it's okay or not. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, just let's finish the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda said, Izim yotzot tzrurot leyabesh avalo lechalev. Goats may go out on Shabbat with the others bound to dry the milk supply and discontinue their, they're running out of the production, right? Mm-hmm. However, they may not go out with the others bound to conserve their milk. In the case they bound loosely. So why? Because again, the issue here is in Tiltul Arba Amot, carrying 4 amot in Reshut Rabim, and Rabbeinu Yonah here explained that there is a different avenue with that. He holds that the problem with the goat goes out in a regular daily, day by day. So when it's filled up with milk, so people just right away pull it out and take out the milk of the goat. So so you don't need during the week to guard the milk that's coming out. But on Shabbat that you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do chaliva, so you need a special way to hold it. So therefore Rabbi Yehuda hold that that's not derech be'ema, that's not something that the animal get used to, and therefore the din on Shabbat is like masoi, is like an extra, because if the places the Rashba say that you do it during the week, that's different. But if not, it's only for Shabbat, then it's not. The Chidush Aran said the same thing, that since it's not something that animals use, so you cannot hold it the same way. So I just want you to know that a friend of mine has a big shop of car repairs and things like that. Mm-hmm. And he became religious, and he told me a fascinating story that he has 2 dogs that when he sold his business, so the fellow that bought the business, who's not Jewish, came back to him several weeks after with a huge complaint. He said that he bought his entire business, his whole shop, and he bought also his 2 dogs. And those dogs, he now opened the shop on Saturday, on Shabbat. And those 2 dogs refused to eat on Shabbat anything. Why? Because the other guy, when he became Baal Tshuva, he used to leave the dogs double amount of food before Shabbat, and they get used to that. And then now the new owner, they didn't want to eat any food on Shabbat. They just refused, and it was a big to do with that. He said either you take those dogs or you retrain them to eat on Saturdays. Anyway, let's go to a practical halacha. First halacha is Ez shechakak la ben shinea. This is a Rambam, Hilchot Shabbat, chapter 20. A goat in which one carved out a hole between its horns. So if a hole was carved between the horns of a goat, and a bit was inserted through the hole, the goat may go out with it on Shabbat. If the bit was inserted through the goat's beard, it may not go out with it. So that's what we said in the stringent unresolved in dilemma, what's the law involved in a Torah prohibition. Now we said also velo bertzuah sheben karnea ben lenoi ben leshamer. He said, and an animal may not go out with the strap between its horns, whether it was placed for ornament purposes or whether it was placed for security purposes. That's what the Rav said. And we said b'moredet, if the red heifer is rebellious, if an animal is wild and rebellious, one may take it out, like the Linda one, right? So one may take it out into the public domain with a suitable restraint, even though that will be excessive with regard to more docile animal of the same species. Now, in general, as you remember that para aduma, the red heifer, need an extra shmira, extra guardian. Yotzin kruchim, animals may go out on Shabbat led by a rope, even if the rope is tied around their necks. This ruling is in accordance with the opinion of Rav Huna and on the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. The practice was according to his opinion. That's the Rambam Ilchot Shabbat chapter 20 and Shulchan Aruch Or HaChaim 305. Tabat Adam v'tabat behema v'chelim. Only a ring worn by a person for ornaments purposes can become ritually impure. However, if the ring of an animal and the ring of the utensils, if a person with no use them, so they cannot become a tameh. Now we said minoi adam lenoi behema, and an ornament that was previously worn by a person and later designated for animal use does not cease to its ritually impure unless it undergoes a physical change. Now we said oil v'adam moshech ta behema, so ilchot kelim they said in now we talk to matahara. If a person uses an animal prod or animal utensils, they assume status of a person utensils and can become ritually impure, and therefore v'tovlan bimkomam, the ring which become ritually impure with attached to the neck of an animal may be immersed while they still is a utensil. So again we talk here on a tuma in tahara. Now טבעת שהתקינה לחגור בה בנוי או טבעת של מטרת בתוך ההתאמה של האלמוג. So it's all halachot in regard to Tuma and Tahara. I'm skipping these halachot because they give me a signals that we run out of time, and the same apply to machat. But we said chamor yotze b'merdat, a donkey may go out with his saddle cloth. This is Shulchan Aruch Or HaChaim 305. A donkey may go out on Shabbat with his saddle cloth if it was securely tied to the animal before Shabbat. Then it's fine, you can do it.
es Hashem